Why the Boston Red Sox should 100% try to trade Walker Buehler regardless of where they're at the trade deadline.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free. So make sure you continue to tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show. The Red Sox lost another frustrating one last night, losing 9-5 against the Angels. That is now their third straight loss. And last night's loss was very similar to Sunday's in that there was just a bunch of base running blunders and defensive miscues, and the Red Sox pitching staff was just not able to get it done. Bullpen, both days, couldn't get it done. But one of the main topics surrounding last night's game had to do with starting pitcher Walker Buehler. I'm going to be talking about him on today's show, as well as what's up with Jarren Duran and Alex Cora getting ejected, once again, showing character in life. So the Red Sox last night were going into this game thinking, okay, we're out of San Francisco, new series, no more distractions with the Devers situation and all of that. So we just lost the series in San Fran. So now we have to go and we have to bounce back and win this series in LA. So that hasn't started off so hot, as the Red Sox did lose the first game of that series. And Walker Buehler was on the mound for that game, and he was all over the place. Could not find his command, like at all. He threw 4 innings, giving up 3 hits and 5 earned runs with 3 strikeouts. But the biggest thing, 7 walks. 7. He threw 94 pitches, only 46 of them were strikes. I mean, this guy was throwing the ball everywhere but the strike zone. And in my head, I said, wow, it's the first game of the series. They cannot possibly give this game to the bullpen in the second inning when it's the first game of a 3-game series. Obviously, if things had gotten insanely bad and he wasn't able to physically get out of the first inning, they would have had no choice but to do that. So I'm glad they were at least able to stretch him out through 4 innings, because that at least relieved the bullpen a little bit. And then Luis Guerrero through 2 innings looked incredibly sharp through just 25 pitches, with 14 of those being strikes. Over those 2 innings, he was super effective. 1 walk, but other than that, pitched cleanly. Garrett Whitlock struggled. 1 2/3, giving up 2 hits and 4 earned runs with 3 walks and 1 strikeout. The Red Sox had 11 walks total in this game, primarily from Buehler, but the bullpen also was walking people. And then Alcala came in to finish things up for the Red Sox. He threw just 0.1 inning, giving up 1 hit and no runs with 1 strikeout. So that was one of the biggest issues with this game, the 11 walks for the Red Sox pitching staff. And Walker Buehler was all over the place. He also had a couple hit by pitches in there as well. So the Red Sox took a 3-0 lead after the top of the first inning. I was like, wow, their bats came to play tonight. They're really showing up offensively. And then they go to the bottom of the inning, and Walker Buehler just completely blows that and gives up 5 runs in the inning. And he just did not have it. And he continues to have these first inning meltdowns. It happened against the Yankees and in his recent start prior to this start against the Angels, when he threw against the Mariners last week and the Red Sox lost 8-0. He threw 3 1/3 innings in that game, giving up 8 hits and 8 earned runs, with, again, the walks being an issue. 4 walks there, 2 strikeouts in that game. 93 pitches that he threw, with just 54 of them being strikes. So there is an issue in what seems to be Buehler's pregame routine and how he's prepping for these outings, because he is getting absolutely smoked in the first couple innings of games, and it takes him a while to really warm up and get himself settled. Last night, he was not able to get himself settled at all, but in the games where he has been able to, he takes a good couple innings before he really gets himself to the point of control that he needs to be at. So what does that say? Maybe try changing his pregame routine a little bit. I mean, the thing with him that I've definitely noticed is that his stuff has just declined and the command has declined. So what does this mean in terms of what the Red Sox should do with him and how they should handle the situation? They should trade Walker Buehler regardless of where they're at the trade deadline. When they signed Buehler and they paid him a lot of money for a one-year deal, they were really hoping that he was going to pan out to be a reliable starter in the rotation. Truly, the Red Sox thought that he had more left in the tank, especially after his dominant performance for the Dodgers in the World Series last year. So the Red Sox hoped that they were going to be getting some semblance of that version of Buehler. And that version of Buehler just has been non-existent for this Boston Red Sox team. And it's been tough because there have been a couple outings of his where he has looked very dominant. 100%. And when he's very dominant, he's really hard to hit. But those types of outings where he's super dominant have been so few compared to the ones where he's gotten rocked. And that's what the biggest issue is here is he gets into a hole early and doesn't know how to get out of it. He's not executing the right pitches at the right times, and he's just not seeing that strike zone really at all. So the benefit to trading him regardless of where they're at, because if the Red Sox feel like they are not in contention, it makes sense to trade away a lot of the veteran, more expensive players on the roster, like, for example, Walker Buehler or Alex Bregman or Aroldis Chapman. Those are three big names that I could think of that the Red Sox might look to ship if they are not in contention. Also, possibly Trevor Story, but I think they do like his defense there, so probably a little bit less likely if the Red Sox are selling off pieces. So if they are not in contention, it's kind of a no-brainer to try to move Buehler. Now, his value might not be very high because this is a contract year for him. So since he's on a one-year deal, he could walk after this season. So that'll knock down a little bit of the value that the Red Sox get in return for him, if that were to be the case. And also with the fact that he hasn't been pitching super effectively, it might make teams feel like, wow, the Red Sox are kind of backed against a wall right now. They really want to get rid of this guy because they don't want to pay the rest of his salary for this season, and they're just trying to offload him so they get some good talent back. And it really is going to seem like the Red Sox are desperate to move him. So therefore, again, teams might not budge on the initial offerings in terms of what they would give up to the Red Sox. So there are definitely risks with it, but if the Red Sox aren't in contention, it doesn't really make sense to keep him around when he could go to a contending team that is maybe looking for a rental piece with good leadership skills that could be around a lot of younger players. And that was another reason why the Red Sox even got Buehler in the first place, is because his veteran presence in that clubhouse among the pitchers they were hoping would really resonate with the younger guys and rub off on them. So there's obviously been benefits to having Buehler here, but he has really struggled to the point where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have him anymore. If the Red Sox are in contention, they still should consider trading Buehler, because even though he could be seen as a rental for a contending team, if he's not really pitching that well for the Red Sox, they could trade him and focus on getting guys like Hunter Dobbins and Richard Fitz involved more regularly in the rotation. If those are guys that they feel are part of the future of this rotation, it would allow them both to get more reps in those starting pitching roles. And then the Red Sox could move on from Buehler because they could say, okay, our rotation will actually be better if he's not in it, because he's costing us a lot of games because of the early holes that he's getting himself into. So the reason for him being in trade talks to begin with is because of the Red Sox and the uncertainty with where they're at. But I would argue that they could make a valid argument for trading him either way. And if they were to trade Walker Buehler, I don't think that necessarily means they're 100% selling. I think it just means they're trying to offload a guy who really has been struggling and doesn't really fit the mold of what the Red Sox need, and that they wouldn't trust him on the mound in a playoff game. That to me is what kind of message that would be sent if that were to be the case. I think it makes sense to at least explore the trade market regardless. The Red Sox don't want to end up in a situation where they wait too long to try to move him and they don't end up with a trade partner and then they're stuck with him and he's not really making the rotation better. If they want to be a playoff team, trade Walker Buehler, look at what the market is. The return might not be fantastic, but there are some young, talented pitchers here, and the Red Sox have to decide, are we ready to take that risk on them? And even if they decide that, yes, that is what we're doing, that doesn't mean they're not contending this year. It just means they have a lot of faith in those types of players. So Walker Buehler, to me, is somebody who could easily be put in a trade package regardless of their direction at the trade deadline. Now, that could change the rotation in terms of their ability to pitch under pressure because you have a veteran in Buehler who can help guide some of the younger pitchers through that. So you would have to know that you're losing some things with him, like the veteran experience. But because of the way that he has thrown on the mound, it's been tough to justify keeping him around when the Red Sox could utilize another starting pitcher who they feel has been more reliable than him. So definitely something to think about. Will the Red Sox trade him? We'll have to find out. It's only a matter of time before we'll know. But what's going on with Jarren Duran? Are his struggles something we should be seriously concerned about? I'm talking about that next. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off. The Red Sox have found themselves on a 3-game losing skid, and it's unfortunate because overall, for the whole month of June, they have been playing a lot better baseball than we saw from them in the first couple months, and the conversations became, are the Red Sox back, because they are starting to play good baseball. But as of the last few days, they have slumped. Now, keep in mind that West Coast trips are tough for any team. These guys are doing a lot of traveling. There's jet lag involved because of the time change, and it's definitely not easy. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But there are still so many clueless mistakes that the Red Sox make. And one of those clueless mistakes is on the base paths. And while I love how aggressive the Red Sox are when it comes to trying to steal bases and put that constant pressure on opposing pitchers, they have to be able to think. And Jarren Duran in last night's game tried to advance to third base on a ground ball that was hit directly to second base. And it wasn't a forced play, so he didn't have to move over to third, but he thought it was a good idea to try to go to third base on the play. And sure enough, it backfired on him, got caught in a rundown, and was tagged out. Now, that is when these situations come very frustrating to me, because this is low IQ baseball. And regardless of what you pin it on, it really is on the players for having to know to make the right decisions. They are the ones making big money to play this sport. They need to understand the basic rules around the sport and be aware and have that heads up attitude the entire time that they're out there. So the Jarren Duran situation there definitely annoyed me. But what's actually been up with him this season? He still has an effect with his speed. That's the biggest asset of his game that he brings to the table, is the fact that he is fast and he can steal bases at a more frequent rate than other people can. And that's something that the Red Sox are always going to value when it comes to justifying keeping him around. But defensively, he's not as good as Cedam Rafaela or Wilyer Abreu. He's definitely had his fair share of blunders in the outfield. For example, the other day against the Giants, he couldn't make a routine play when the ball was hit to him in the outfield, and it should have just been a regular flyout, but he dropped it. The sun was definitely strong, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there that maybe he lost the ball in the sun, but he's definitely had his fair share of defensive blunders this season. Not that they're bad by any means, not that he has become the worst defender in the league or something crazy of that capacity, but he's definitely had some instances in which he hasn't been able to be trusted defensively. And his offense has declined from 2024 to 2025. So in 2024, his walk rate was higher and his strikeout rate was lower. So his strikeout rate was in the 48th percentile last year, which is about average. Now in 2025, his strikeout percentage is in the 39th percentile, which is on the lower end of average, but heading towards poor. So he is swinging and missing a lot more this season. Why? His chase percentage has also gotten a lot worse. So last year, his chase percentage was 51, which is above average, meaning that's very good. That means he wasn't chasing a lot of pitches outside the zone. So keep in mind the number 51. Now in 2025, what is his chase percentage? 18. He's in the 18th percentile, meaning he's chasing a lot more pitches that he shouldn't be chasing. And naturally, that leads to him striking out because he's not swinging at the right pitches and he's swinging at things that are not in the strike zone. So that's been the biggest issue with Duran's offensive productivity is that chase percentage. His walk percentage also has gone down. In 2024, he was walking at a rate of about 7.3%. Now he's walking at a rate of 5.8%. So just to put that into perspective here, his strikeout percentage in 2024 was 21.8%. Now it's 23.7%. So essentially he's moving in the wrong direction from where he was at last year, because you always want to see the walk rate increase and the strikeout rate decrease. But these charts are saying the opposite right now, which means that he is not being as patient at the plate as he was last season. And he's not taking as many walks as he did, and he's striking out more as a result of all of this. And that's definitely frustrating to think about as a fan because he typically has been the go-to leadoff guy for this team. And in 2024, we always knew with Duran going up there as the leadoff hitter that things were going to be okay in some capacity, that Duran's going to find a way to come through. And if he doesn't find a way to come through with a hit right now, he'll get up at some point and he'll be able to get on first base and be able to be a huge base stealing threat for us. So that's definitely something with Duran that makes him as valuable as he is because a lot of people know it's important to have a guy like him on the roster, but definitely not ideal. And he definitely could do a lot better, especially at the plate. And I feel like he almost adjusted his approach this year, and now he's overthinking that, and it's getting all in his head. Obviously, he has a lot of off the field things too that he is trying to figure out. So I think all of those factors together end up really catching up to him, and it makes him feel really stressed about everything and trying to perform. So I definitely do understand where he's coming from, and that is just a lot. But at the same time, this is your job. You are getting paid to be here and be present. And hopefully he's able to improve his numbers over the next couple weeks. But when it comes to the trade deadline and all these talks about whether the Red Sox are going to be buyers or sellers, they still don't really know 100% for sure yet. They did say after they traded Rafael Devers that they're not punting on the 2025 season, that they plan on being active on the trade market as buyers because they want to help make this team better. Obviously, things could have changed in the last week or so since that trade, and Craig Breslow might be like, well, it might be best for us to sell because we're an average baseball team, because again, they are back right at 500. So he might be saying, well, we're not going to contend with some of the top teams, so we might as well think about selling instead of buying. But as far as a week ago, literally, which in this context of it was not that long ago, was when he was saying, no, we still plan on being buyers at the deadline. So if that's the case, that still means to me that they might try to trade one of their outfielders, because they do have a surplus of outfield talent right now in the system and on the major league team. So eventually they were going to have to figure out something anyway with this outfield. So now might be the time to do that when it's getting into trade deadline season and different GMs are reaching out to each other about players who may be available. Now might be the chance for the Red Sox to try and feel out both Jarren Duran and Walker Buehler and see if there's somebody who's interested in either one of them. Because Jarren Duran's value is higher than you might think. Because yes, he's having a very okay season at the plate this year, not exactly as well as it could have been, but because he's a multi-talented player, there could be a team that really wants him to primarily use as a pinch runner, and they just want somebody with that kind of speed on their roster, so they are willing to pick up him. Walker Buehler is the other outfielder that I could see the Red Sox discussing in trade options. I could definitely see teams wanting him because he has been one of the best hitters on the team and he's a reigning Gold Glover. So people would kind of know he's somebody who could provide a lot of value for the team. Whereas with Duran, they're kind of taking a bit of a risk doing that because of the fact that he hasn't been as effective this season as he was in the past for the Red Sox. So teams are a little bit hesitant about signing him because they don't really know what kind of value he would provide. So be on the lookout for Duran's name on the trade market. He definitely needs to change his plate approach a little bit. I think he's overthinking a lot of things and he's super in his head right now. So I'm not saying, I'm done with him. I have zero interest in him being on this team anymore. It's definitely not that. It's just more that when the Red Sox are thinking about their future and they're thinking about what things are going to look like from here. And it's more to me about the fact that the outfield right now is just overloaded and it makes sense to move somebody. So if the Red Sox are fully sold on buying, I still think we see these names be brought up in conversation. So we'll have to see for sure how that goes. And if they do end up trading Duran, it's unfortunate that his offensive productivity has declined from last season, but he definitely is just not having as much awareness at the plate and he's not making as good of swing decisions as he did last year. And that has been an absolute killer for him. So we'll have to see what the Red Sox decide to do at the trade deadline, but I definitely do think there could be some names that get shipped out. But coming up, Alex Cora got ejected again. That's going to be discussed next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Monarch Money is a great way to make sure that you're not spending useless money because that can get really exhausting and stressful really fast. In thinking about the Red Sox and where they are at right now, there's a lot of questions about how they are going to go about the trade deadline. Are they going to trade Walker Buehler? Are they going to trade Jarren Duran? Both of which are struggling right now. Finding trade partners for a struggling player is tough, but in the case of Jarren Duran, he definitely has a really versatile skill set. I still think Walker Buehler is the outfielder that it would make the most sense to trade just because of the value that Duran provides on the base paths. And I think that's a skill that's so underrated and is so important, especially for a Red Sox team that likes to steal bases and be aggressive on the base paths. You want a guy like Duran present. But either way, I think it's likely that they at least listen to offers on their outfielders. I definitely think that's very likely. With Walker Buehler, I definitely think they should explore the trade market for him, whether they're contending or not at the trade deadline, because if they're not, then they can try to send him to a team that might need a rental, a guy who can help boost a clubhouse that has experience winning. And a team might want their players to be exposed to a guy like that. So they could find a trade partner if they are not in contention, because it doesn't make sense to keep guys like that who are older on the roster, maybe with expiring contracts, when they can go and get assets in return. So if they aren't in contention 100%, if they are in contention, even I would argue that trading Walker Buehler would probably make the rotation better because of how much he has been struggling. And it sounds kind of harsh to say that sometimes, but the Red Sox rotation might be better off without him. So by trading him, that might be making the team better at the trade deadline. So lots of different things that you can pinpoint and lots of speculation, which ultimately at the end of the day, we won't really know what the Red Sox are going to do until it actually happens, because as we all know, the front office wouldn't come out and directly say, oh, we are planning on making a call on said player. That all is usually silent behind the scenes, and then we'll find out when it happens that they made a trade like that. So definitely still wondering if they are for sure going to be buyers or sellers. I know Alex Cora wants them to be buyers. He's ready to win now. He's had differing opinions, as Craig Breslow has had, when it comes to the state of this Red Sox team. And I know Alex Cora is ready to win. And he's shown it with a lot of intensity over the last couple of games. He got ejected from the game last night for the second night in a row. And he kind of talked about last night's and how it just kind of is what it is. He and Jarren Duran had both been ejected in Sunday's game. And then last night, Alex Cora lost it on the umpires and he got ejected again. This was because of a play where it was kind of a funky double play and Abraham Toro was trying to steal second base, but the fielder was blocking the bag. And it was pretty obvious. They showed the replay multiple times, and it was pretty clear that he was blocking the base. So Alex Cora was trying to make that argument to the umps because they don't usually call that. Usually they don't say, oh, the fielder is blocking the base, so the runner is safe. So Alex Cora was arguing for that look, they clearly are blocking the bag and you are not doing anything about it. So he definitely had a reason to be upset in the moment because he felt like Abraham Toro couldn't slide into second base because it was being blocked. So that's what he was taking up with the umps, but it wasn't really a calm conversation with the umpires. All of a sudden, you could see Alex Cora kind of blowing up about it. And it's been interesting to see Cora over the last few days because he definitely has brought more fire and intensity than what we've seen from him this season. And I actually mentioned it on yesterday's show too, how maybe the Rafael Devers trade ignited something in him to where he said, okay, this team has things to prove. We want to go out and prove them. We want to go out and prove that we do not need Rafael Devers and we can win games without him. And I feel like maybe Alex Cora has instilled a new sense of desire to want to win into this team. And obviously with the Devers situation, it's kind of water under the bridge at this point. He's with his new team. The Red Sox are learning to win baseball games without him in their lineup. So both teams are moving on from it. But in the aftermath of it, I'm seeing Alex Cora a lot more intense than I really have in a long time. And this version of Cora, I had been waiting to come out. And that makes me feel like he's confident in this group of guys that he has. And that's why any ounce of potentially getting screwed over in calls or what have you, and it potentially affecting the outcome of the game, Alex Cora is not about that. So he's quick to stick up for his players, especially if he sees something that the umps are not calling, like the blocking of second base. But the reason I feel like the Devers trade may have something to do with Alex Cora's change in attitude is because of the fact that he was on board with trading Devers. And I feel like he saw that Devers was kind of this dark cloud over the Red Sox clubhouse for a bit. And now, obviously, I'm not saying it was the extreme of his teammates really can't stand him and can't be around him. I think it was just more that he wasn't really being supportive and he was more about what was best for him than for the team as a whole. And that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. So ultimately, I feel like Alex Cora thought that was kind of like this cloud that was preventing them from reaching their potential. And now that he is no longer here, Alex Cora now feels like this team that he has in front of him could be the real deal. And the intensity that he is showing in games definitely has been a reflection of a lot of that. And I honestly really like this version of Cora. It shows that he really cares and he's not checked out, because for a while, there were a lot of people who thought that, wow, Alex Cora's facial expression literally looks miserable. He looks like he doesn't want to be here. And you have to wonder if Devers had anything to do with that or not. I know that Cora and Devers, for the most part, had a good relationship. Alex Cora even tried to talk to Devers during the offseason to tell him about the fact that the Red Sox maybe were exploring the third base market. And then Alex Bregman comes, and obviously Devers is blindsided by having to be a DH. But that was one thing that Alex Cora had tried to talk to him about. And he said, well, if he's not going to answer, what am I supposed to do, essentially? So I think there was a lot of frustration building up there. And I think Alex Cora, even though he'll obviously never admit it, feels a sense of relief now that Rafael Devers is no longer on the team. So now he feels a little bit more free to do what he needs to do to stand up for his players and be there for them and say to the ump, sorry, you are wrong. This is the right play, and I would hate to see my guy get screwed over. Or however it is that he says it when he's talking to the umps during the game. So I guess my whole point that I'm trying to make is Alex Cora is showing a newfound sense of fire, and this Red Sox team needs that. It's been a frustrating few days, and again, like, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt because of the West Coast trip, and I know how tired they probably are. So chances are these guys are being impacted on the field over that. And it's been a frustrating few days in that regard, but if Alex Cora maintains this same level of energy that he has been maintaining for a while, that I've definitely seen, then he can motivate his team to want to perform and to want to win. And I think that's something that we haven't seen a lot of. And I think the conversations behind closed doors that Alex Cora has with his players are definitely probably productive a lot of the time. But it's really the way that he's carrying himself now on the baseball field and really going out there and showing his guys, hey, look, I believe in you. Because what if there was some discouragement after the Devers trade of guys feeling like, oh, wow, if they traded Devers, they'll definitely trade me, because why would they trade their franchise player? So I should probably be prepared. And Cora maybe has a sense of level-headedness in that situation and was maybe able to talk to the players who might have said, well, do they not believe in us? Like, are they really going to sell at the trade deadline? And are they just going to give away a lot of key pieces? Obviously, nobody for sure knows the answer to that question. But Alex Cora believes in this team, and I think that's the point that he is trying to make by getting all up in the umps' faces more so than he has in the past. So hopefully the vibes start to turn around and stay around, because the Red Sox had a nice stretch where they were winning a lot of baseball games, and now they're back on the losing end of things. So hopefully they can pick things back up starting tonight with Crochet on the mound and go from there. But I do appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. Next, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night on YouTube or any other podcast platform, where it goes over every game that took place that day, so you don't have to worry about checking scores on ESPN or anything. It's all of our Locked On hosts here that will keep you in the loop on that. So make sure you check that out on any podcast platform. Keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.